Watercourse Commission meeting of Tuesday, April 6th, 2021. And item number 1 is seating of alternates. Cheryl, you'd be happy to know that the selectmen did vote for you to become a full member, so you're automatically seated, and everybody else here are members, so no reason to seat alternates. Item number 2 is to review and approve the minutes of the March 2nd, 2021 regularly scheduled meeting. I assume everybody got a copy of that. Did everybody have a chance to read it?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
In fact, I'll move to approve as presented.
Okay. We have a motion to approve as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Approved. Number 3 is additions to the agenda. Joe, is there anything new that we need to add here?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, which is old business. IW 2101, Tracy Smith, 33 Amadon Drive, yard improvements and upland review area. And we did have a short sentence on that from the last meeting. The owners were requested to provide the distance from the lake to the proposed area of work on the steps and to the required silt fence. The application was tabled to the next meeting. Joe, did we get any additional information on that application?
Yeah, we did, and I sent it to you guys electronically.
Okay.
They basically did 3 new, there were renditions of the old site plans, but they did three separate site plans for you guys.
Okay.
And they're all dated 3/15/21.
Okay. Can you run through them for us real quick? I got it right here, actually.
Well, the first one I have is the one that they have in color, titled 33 Amadon Drive. It looks like George colored in, different facets of the project. With he appears to have distances. I'm going to assume those are feet. And that appears to be just depicting the structures, the grading area that they're going to be grading. He has silt fence shown on the plan.
Yeah.
I can see the steps. And the other 2 plans appear to be, pretty much the same as the old ones. They are the old ones either way, depicting where he's pulling stumps, and another rendition of the steps and the yard work that they're doing.
Okay. Okay. Seems like that's about what we had asked for. Is that your take on that, Joe?
Yes.
Okay. So Cheryl, you have any questions you want to ask about that?
No, I did review the plan that we received, and basically the reason we asked for it was to be sure that we understood where the location of the activities were, and that they would not impact the lake.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable that the activities are not in the water. They're far enough away from the lake. I don't really have any more questions on it.
Okay. Peter?
After looking at it, I think we should approve it now as presented from these plans.
Okay.
If you want, I'll make a motion right now.
Well, hold on a second. Gary, you okay with all this? Gary?
Gary's having trouble with his audio.
Yeah, I see he's on the phone. Gary, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Do you have any questions or concerns about 33 Amadon Drive?
I do not.
Okay. So Joe, so just to make it clear, so did they revise the original application? Is that what we're doing?
What do you mean by what do you mean by application? You mean the site plan or
The original application? What?
this is the original The original application you guys denied without prejudice because
Okay.
they didn't give you enough information. So this is a new application.
Yep.
Essentially showing what they were projecting before. It's just a little more clear now.
Okay. All right. That's what I wanted to know. Was it a different application from the first one? Okay. So good. So it sounds like we're in good shape. Gary, if you wanted to make, or Peter, if you wanted to make a motion, that'd be fine.
All right, I'll make a motion. We approve now the revised plans as presented.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Great.
Lenny, one of the things I do want to bring up briefly is that I sent you guys a copy of a letter from Kay Warren,
Yeah.
the neighbor at 31, and I just wanted to address the fact that she had issues with one of the maps that actually I included as part of the application. I thought it would be a good idea for you guys to have the GIS map of the property depicting, the location of the house and where they were proposing things. And one of Kay's main issues was that the property lines as depicted by the town GIS were incorrect. And that's a very common thing because, when they put these layers on the aerial photos and then the assessor's map lines,
Yeah.
a lot of times things don't line up and, people have property lines shown through houses and everything. But I just wanted to clear the air that, that has, really it was not part of the application. It was just something that I included so that you guys would understand where the property was geographically.
Yeah. I
Thank you.
think you might have mentioned that last time too, but I thank you for telling us that.
Yep.
That's good.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move on to item B under old business. This 96 not highway notice of violation. It looks like we got quite a bit of information recently. You want to run us through what we have, Joe? But it looks pretty good.
Well, you got one of the attachments. I don't know if they're in order or not, so forgive me, but you did get a letter from REMA Environmental regarding wetland buffer plantings. So that letter and report basically dictates, along with the map, the various plantings that he's recommending. I think it was a total of 50 various shrubs to go in between the proposed fence barrier and in the wetlands. So I think that's good. I definitely concur with those recommendations. So like I said, you got a map of the planting plan. There's also a detail sheet on the proposed wood barrier fence that's supposed to go in there. That's basically it. That's what you guys asked for.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the letter seemed pretty well done as far as I can see, and I like the plan there that shows where the barrier, where they're proposing the barrier. It looks like that's pretty much what we had asked for. Cheryl, I know you did some you studied this for a little while. Do you have anything you want to talk about here?
So really the only question I have of the applicant is what would be a reasonable time frame to get the fence barrier up and the plantings in? I know that some of the plantings need to go in at different times, but what would be a reasonable time frame? Because I do, just to let you know, I do believe that we need to have a deadline on that. So just want to be sure you can meet that deadline.
Yes, thank you for letting me talk. we probably could have all this done within 90 days. And then the plantings, we would be just guided by George as to when is the best time to plant. We can do the plantings at any time. So this is April, May, June. So we could be done by the end of June.
So the letter, it says it's going to take place from May 1st to July, and then from September 15th to October 15th. So
Those
that,
are the plantings,
must-
right?
yeah, so there must be, certain plants can be done a little earlier, and then other plants have to wait. Is that the reason why it's this is the difference from July 1st to September 15th?
That was the assumption I made when I read that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Makes
I
sense.
concur. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
okay. All right, so plantings seem to be okay, the dates seem to be okay. The fence or the wood barrier, that looks like what we've been looking at. It goes 6 foot on center, looks like 3 feet high, pressure treated 4x4 posts. Anybody have any concerns about the fence? Or the location of it?
It's long overdue. Time, so I'm glad to see it.
Okay, thank you, makes sense. Anybody else?
Did they give us any idea of what plants are going to be planted?
Yeah, there's a whole letter.
Did they give us like a listing of possibilities?
Yeah,
Yes.
yep.
Okay.
It's in that, well, what Joe sent us, I guess, by email. I don't think Joe, it wasn't posted up on our, on the website, right? These just came from you?
It's posted on the website, but it is also, I also emailed them to each and every one of you.
Yeah, okay, so I'm looking at what you emailed me. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7 different kinds of plants, 3 to 4 feet high. Total of 50. Yep. And he gives us some reasons, why the various plants were chosen. So I'm good with that. So the other thing was that we wanted some signs on the permanent posts. Did that show up on the plan? I'm looking at the plan. I didn't really see location.
No, it did not, but if we could get those round discs,
Yeah,
we would put them on every other post or every third post.
okay. Joe, do we still have those down at the office?
Yeah, I got a bucket full of them. I'll make sure that they get over there so that they can put them up.
Okay. So Ron, can the fence go up soon, or do you have to wait to put the plants in and then the fence so you can get back there? How are you going to work that?
Yeah, I'll have to talk to George. I think it's probably better to put the plants in, whatever we can now.
Yeah.
But let me talk to George. If he feels it's better that we put the fence up first, then we can probably start the fence in 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. So I think as far as I'm concerned at this point, I think I'm fairly satisfied. But could you just talk to George and maybe give us a sequence of operations as to when the fence will go up? I mean, I see the letter talking about when the plants are going to go in, but if that's still realistic for you. And what I'm basically looking at is, when do we think it's going to be like halfway done, so we can send Joe down to take a look at the progress, and then, when would it be finished?
Sure.
And then, you would call us at that point so we can do a final inspection.
If the meeting is still going on at 8 o'clock, George said he could join us at 8.
Okay.
But
all right.
Maybe over by then.
Okay. All right.
We could We could move to approve with conditions and lay the conditions out with a long enough time frame to account for the, you know, the fence and the plantings being put in at different times. For instance, if we put a condition in that the plantings and the fence and the signage need to be finished by the end of October or something like that. I mean, that would allow some flexibility without having to know exactly what's going in when.
Yeah.
So that's one option for us if we don't want to wait.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it sounded like that if you look at the letter, the October 15th, it looks like that.
They already have the dates listed there.
Yeah, so I mean, if that's what the soil scientist says that that's the best times, then, you know, I don't have any problem with that. It's just a matter of, you know, when is it, I mean, when is that fence going to go in? That's the biggest thing for me is I really want to see that fence, and it doesn't tell us when. So that's why I'm just looking for kind of a sequence of operations. So I know roughly when the fence is going to start, and we could send Joe down there to make sure it's going in the right place and it's the fence that we've approved. And then, of course, monitor it once it's completed. So that's all. So if you think you can put that into some words, Cheryl, that's fine. We can go ahead and do that.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure if you want me to move or if you want me to
Well,
suggest what a motion would be.
No, well, what I want to make sure that we're not lifting the violation, notice of violation at this point, right? We're not going to do that till the end.
No,
So-
but the permit needs to be issued before he can.
Yeah.
He can.
So what I'd like to do is to approve this as it's been presented with, you know, our standard conditions, but also additional a condition that tells us the sequence of operations. They can submit that to us, but in no event do we want this to go past the October 15th deadline that's in their letter. So we're fully expecting to be all this to be done. And then our meeting in November, right? That's when we would have, Joe would have already inspected the final product. He can come in and he can say, yes, hopefully it's done, it's acceptable, and then we can lift the violation notice. So that's the way I see it. So if you want to,
Right. That's kind of what I meant when I said
perfect.
giving some flexibility. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to move.
Yep.
Okay, so I move that we approve this application with all revisions, including the planting plan and the fencing that was received, with a condition that the signage that has been discussed be placed on every other fence post, which the town will provide to the applicant, with a condition that the planting plan and the fencing be in place by October 15th. And with a further condition that a sequence of operations, a sequence of construction be submitted for the purpose of allowing our agent to view the site to be sure that the construction is proceeding as planned.
Okay. I think that's good. Does anybody want to make any corrections?
I'll
or
second it.
changes? Okay, we have a second. Anybody have any questions or you want to add or anything to it? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Ron.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Okay, we're going to move on now to item number C, which is the June Norcross Webster Boy Scout Camp, 231 Ashford Center Road, the driveway construction. And we did get some additional information. But let me just So during the last meeting, Joe suggested that one of the material storage areas be moved to the other side of the road. That was all the comments we had from the last meeting. We did get some additional information. We got a letter from Rick talking about the wetlands, and that we can go over that in a minute. We also got we got a set of plans that we picked up from the town hall that everybody requested. Did everybody get a copy of those, by the way?
Yes.
Yes, I did. Yep.
Okay. And then
Any of you, if I could interrupt, excuse me, but I'd like to recuse myself on this application in that I did the wetland delineation.
okay.
So, thank you.
Okay. So we got a letter from the Boy Scout camp, and it was trying to find it at the moment, but I just did everybody have a chance to review that letter that was sent to us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and does so it was pretty substantial report. It talked about the project in general and the stormwater management, an operation and maintenance plan during and after construction, and it went along with the plans that we have. So let's, Cheryl, I know you studied these plans pretty thoroughly. Why don't you just, why don't you just give us your take on what you've seen so far?
All right. Well, first of all, I need to qualify myself for the meeting and put on the record that I am a professional engineer. I'm licensed in the state of Connecticut. And I worked for the DEEP for 22 years, excuse me, for 32 years, the last 4 of which I was the director of the Inland Water Resources Division. And while I while I did read the environmental report, I'm not qualified as an analyst, an environmental analyst to review that. And on its face, I think it was fine. However, I did review the stormwater management report and the application, and I have a number of comments and questions, which I'd be happy to also put in chat as a PDF if it would be helpful. But I think these need to be addressed perhaps by the next meeting. And so I'm just going to read some of the comments that I have. I did make a note so I wouldn't forget any. In the stormwater management report, the section 3.0 states that the storm drainage and runoff control will be accomplished by promoting sheet flow off-site towards the existing wetland. And the question I have is how is sheet flow promoted? I didn't really see a discussion of how sheet flow would be promoted. The section 6.0 states that the objective of the stormwater management system designed with the proposed driveway is to effectively remove the sediment loading from the site runoff and provide long-term protection of the quality and use of downstream water resources. So how does the stormwater management system remove sediment from the site runoff? That's my second question. The report states that filter inserts will be placed in each existing catch basin and yard drain. I did not actually spot any existing catch basins or yard drains on the plans. Maybe there's some not shown on the plans. So if there are any there, they should be on the plan. If there aren't any, that statement probably should be removed from the report. It also states that dewatering settling basins, excuse me, dewatering settling basins will be utilized, and I understand that that's only if necessary. However, if they are utilized, they should be shown where they might be utilized, and there should be a at least a standard detail on the plans. In addition to that, we should have the computations for the design of the splash pads to show that they're sufficient to prevent erosion, particularly for the crossing. There's 16 CFS proposed for the intermittent water course at the design storm of the 25-year. And then a general comment about the application. It doesn't really state what the purpose of this roadway is. Like, in other words, why a new access roadway to the campus being provided. So I think that needs to be fleshed out. There should be a discussion about how adding plantings alongside the roadway constitutes wetland compensation. Now, I see plantings in general as enhancement, maybe enhancement or protection of the wetland, but compensation is a slightly different animal. And so there's a comment that there's a certain square footage of wetlands being created, and there's just plantings. So I think that needs to be discussed a little further. And then lastly, our regulations require an alternatives assessment. In other words, it says every application needs to provide alternatives which could have less or no impact on the wetland, and discussion of those alternatives and why they were rejected as possible. So those are my questions, and I really do also feel that we should have a site visit, because I think I had some other questions that could be answered by seeing the site.
Yep. That's very good, Cheryl. Yeah, if you wanted to put those in the chat, that would be great if you have them written down. It was also just in case Peter or anybody hasn't actually taken a look at the plans in any detail. It's a 20-foot wide road. They call it a gravel driveway, 2,300 feet long. And if you look at the cross section in the plans that they gave us, it looks like it's ranging from 20 to 24 feet wide, and it's made up of 3-inch processed aggregate on top, and then 8 inches of granular fill underneath. So we have 11 inches of compacted material. And then if you look at the, I guess it's a TYP 01, you also have some additional information there, but so there's a tremendous amount of material that's being brought in, I guess, to construct this road. Joe, in the application, did they tell us, how many cubic yards of material is being brought in?
Let me take a look here, Lenny. I'm looking at it right now. I don't believe so. Here we are. Just with the respect to the wetland disturbance, they're showing 104 cubic yards being deposited in the wetland crossing. That's all I see.
Yeah.
I don't know if Mike Healy's on, the engineer or the surveyor that prepared the application. He might be able to clarify that. I don't know.
So is there anybody that can talk to us, from?
Yes, yeah, hi.
Okay.
My name is Mike Healy. I'm with the BSC group representing the Boy Scouts in their this project for the driveway crossing. And I'm here to respond to some of the questions. Hopefully I can, but if this does get extended, then that'll give us more time to respond in writing. I don't have the exact number of the cubic yards of fill. Just a very quick calculation would suggest that it's probably in the neighborhood of 2,000 yards, but I'll have to take a close look at that. Cheryl brought up some very, very good comments, and I'd like to at least start to touch on those if I can. I think that I was trying to write down, as I'm having a hard time reading my writing, but the driveway was graded such that it promotes sheet flow. So in other words, we're not collecting stormwater just for the purpose of treating it. Okay, so if you notice, the contours are typically cross slope to one side of the driveway, which will allow for the adjacent uplands to absorb any nutrients from that. And so the whole project is kind of designed around that. So there's actually no collection points at all for stormwater on this, with the exception of the very end of the project, where we are proposing a catch basin. I believe, and then the purpose of that catch basin was because of when we were on site, we noticed that the existing driveway was sort of cross sloped, and we saw that there was a potential for nuisance runoff from the driveway that would have affected that intersection. So we wanted to make sure there was a spot to create a low spot where we could actually collect any runoff primarily to prevent icing from occurring at that intersection, because we thought that was a real nuisance area. So I don't know if perhaps I could share my screen, and then I could try to discuss the plan a little bit more in depth, if that's amenable to the commission.
Please.
Okay, let me see if I can do that. You would have to enable me to do. I think you would have to enable me to share my screen.
Who's the actual host?
John? John? I think John, you're the host, right?
John's the host.
Yeah, but he's,
I'm not
Sorry,
sure.
Okay, there we
I
go.
was tied up. What can I do for you?
we're looking to free up Mike Healy's screen so we could look at some things on his computer.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, let me give it a go. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And now can you all see the PDF file that's on my screen?
I can, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I cannot, but that's okay.
Okay, all right. So I just want to go over this a little bit, and hopefully maybe you could follow through with your own paper set of plans, possibly. But I just go over, can you see my cursor? I know that there's a way for me to show my cursor, but I'm not sure how to do it. But to the south is Route 44. And maybe I could draw on here. I'm going to draw a red line. And this red line represents the existing driveway that goes to the camp. Okay, can you all see that? There might be a slight delay in that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I came in to the site about 2-3 years ago, what we noticed, I met with the ranger here. This is like the ranger station. And what we noticed that there was a lot of activity that occurs in this general area. And for lack of better words, this area was a real eyesore. And so what happens is you have, the general public, the campers that come in and out of here, they have to travel through this area that has conflicts of, kind of construction activities. There's wood processing here. There's equipment that runs back and forth, and it's kind of an eyesore. And so I think that the camp, the directors wanted to find a way to avoid that, to avoid this conflict area here. And they had just recently acquired this property here. And that consists of an old colonial farmhouse. I can't quite see it on here. It's right about, yeah, it's right here. And then there's a nice barn on the property. And there's an existing driveway that goes to the barn, and then there's an existing driveway going to the house. And there's a beautiful laneway that runs through in the middle. And I kind of wanted to use that, but it's too narrow. And I didn't want to destroy the trees on the edge of that laneway or destroy the stone wall. So we looked at how to bypass this mess here. And I'm going to circle this area right here. And so when we were looking at that, and then we were looking at this area in through here, and this area is being used as sort of an ATV area. And what we did not want to do is introduce any conflict with the ATV with traffic, camper type of traffic. So the other thing, what we were looking at is, well, what happens if we were to bring that driveway around? And we found that there was virtually no grade along this buffer area. So there's actually there's no slope to speak of. And I'm thinking to myself that if that driveway was constructed over here, I'll draw a line there. What's going to happen is that you've got groundwater flow that would be sort of backed up by that driveway construction. And I absolutely would need some sort of an underdrain system through this whole length of that driveway. And in reality, there's not enough elevation to construct a depth of the underdrain and to be able to discharge toward those wetlands. So we found that based on the conflict of the potential conflict with the ATVs, and then the difficulty of engineering this driveway, and the fact that we're running through that whole entire buffer, it didn't seem to make a lot of sense. And what we did is we looked on the other side and we found some logging trails, and we actually noticed that there was a logging trail crossing right at that location. And we said to ourselves, well, you know, this is pretty minimal amount of effort to get the driveway to go around this way. And the crossing is pretty minimal. You'd find that this wetland is very flat. It's very, it's somewhat broad through there. There's no real, it's more of rivulets rather than channelization. There's sort of ponding that occurs up in here. So there's a very slow release of water that comes through here. And what we've done with that culvert is it really only requires an 18-inch culvert, but I looked at the velocities, the outlet velocities on the downstream side, and I found that they were too high with an 18-inch, or less than desirable. And I said, there's no reason why we can't just oversize it to reduce the velocities coming out of that culvert. And yes, we did size that riprap apron, for those flows. And we'd be happy to provide that information. I'm quite certain that we have that information internally. The other side, there's only about, the other drainage area is a very small area, and it's only collecting the nuisance runoff. And we're finding that there's only a peak flow of about 1 to 2 CFS here. It's really fairly insignificant. So that's basically, so, you know, I somewhat summarized that. But the other reasons why we were looking at putting the driveway here is that, A, we wanted to potentially create a space for parking for the barn, like in case they have events. Here, we wanted smooth flow from the camp to this area, especially without going over the highway. And also, there's a nice trailhead here. And there's also a nice trail system that runs this way. You notice I put a turnout a little bit to the, just past there. So I'm hoping that that would sort of promote the trail to go this way instead of going directly through the wetlands. So we're looking at this as possibly down the road that this might be a nice trail to other camp areas, more for, tent type of camps, not for a really developed camp, but, more for just to get out there for educational purposes, to sort of get into the woods and away from the actual camp itself. I hope that answers your questions to some extent on why we chose that path.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay, thank you, Mike. That was good. Let me just ask you a couple quick questions. So
Yeah.
the culvert, isn't the water going the other way, heading down to 44?
No, the drainage goes this way.
It does. So the contours that I'm looking at,
Yep.
they got right at the culvert.
Yep.
They
There's,
come across the street,
yep.
612
Yep.
down to 596. Am I looking at it upside down, maybe?
I believe there's.
Oh, I am. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I also, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
there's a drainage divide in here.
Yeah.
I believe the water goes in the other direction here,
Yeah.
and then the water goes this way on that side.
Okay.
And then this is like a ponded area.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's
Okay.
caused by, I'm not sure Rick could answer why that wetlands exist. I'm not quite sure why it does at that location. It's very compact, I suspect. The soils are.
So the contours, obviously the flow is going across the proposed road, getting, into the wetlands. Now, you're saying that you've designed this road
Mhm.
to relatively match the existing profile, and so that your opinion that it's not going to restrict the water from going into the wetlands as it does today?
No,
So-
not at all. Yeah, not at all. Not at all. It's much better. This is a much better design than to have the driveway on the uphill side of that.
No, I realize that.
Yeah, yeah.
But so the design itself is not going to restrict any kind of flow that might be, helping that
No.
wetland to survive.
Oh, are you talking about the culvert crossing?
No, just the road itself.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just the road.
Actually, this driveway is running on a divide right now.
Yeah,
So you have water that comes down this way and
Right.
that's the other way.
correct.
Okay, so there's very little cut and fill in this driveway. It's designed, the slopes are manageable. You're not seeing 8, 9, 10% slopes, which are gonna, wash away the fines from the road. We're very conscious of how the contours were
Okay.
sort of directed in this.
And now the pipe itself, the culvert,
Yep.
is that going to drain the water out of the wetlands, or is that
No. There's sort of like a ponded activity that occurs here. And then, so what happens is this only flows as the water level rises in here. Otherwise, it doesn't flow at all.
Mhm.
Okay. So this every time I've been out there, there has been no water in that watercourse. Rick might be able to speak to that because I believe he would have been out there last month. So I'm sure he probably saw some evidence of water in there because of being more of the wet season. But, I've been out there like 3, 4 times and I've never had seen water flowing through there. We just know that there's a potential for water based on the drainage area being, I can't remember what it was, 16 acres or so. So there is a potential. This does act somewhat as a detention basin for the upper reach of that drainage, but it is in line. So it acts for a detention basin on the lower flows, but probably not the higher level flows. Like it's probably not a detention basin on a 100-year storm event, but perhaps is for a 2, 5, 10-year storm. So no, we're not restricting any surface water flow at all. The only thing that I was concerned about from that perspective was that right in this area, we are transitioning from there is like I believe that Woodbridge soil comes into this reach a little bit, but I was concerned about groundwater right in here. So we do have an under drain on this side of the driveway. So, and the primary reason is I don't want to see that pumping action that occurs when the soils are wet in the springtime. So I want to see that driveway bed very stabilized. But the other hand, that the use of the driveway is fairly minimal. From January through April. So it's the use is primarily in the summertime.
Okay. All right. Cheryl, do you have any more questions about the site plan itself?
No, I don't think so. I think that Michael answered my questions. And I guess before we wrap up, I'll summarize the things that I still think that we actually need to see as opposed to just having it orally. But, we can let other people ask.
One thing that Cheryl said that I agree with is that we might schedule a site walk. Sometimes when you're there and you see what's going on, it's so much easier than trying to see it written on a paper.
Yep, we'll definitely do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have any comments on the site plan itself or the rationale for this particular design over some of the other ones that might have, they might have tried to do?
Nope. The explanation seems quite thorough.
Yeah.
And quite rational.
Okay.
But I would like to see it. I'd like to see the ground.
Yep. Very good. Peter?
Yeah, I agree about going to seed. I have one question though. How much of this driveway is in forest and how much is in open land?
Good question. The original layout, I was really trying hard to follow the logging trails to eliminate any tree clearing. But I found out that a lot of the logging trails were just running inside of that buffer area. So basically, I would say the first part to about here, there's probably no cutting.
Yeah.
Per se. And then in through here, there's, the forest is somewhat mature. So, I mean, you remove one tree, that might cover the whole, the whole cross-sectional area. So it's hard to say. I mean, this is forested, but it's not, we tried to avoid the large pine trees. We tried to avoid some of the larger trees in this design. There will be some trees that need to be cut, but I don't think there's a significant amount based on this layout.
All right, that's good.
Mike, if I could interject a couple of things, Rick Zulik here. I'd like to remind the commission that most of this is not in regulated area. Mike's done a pretty good job of keeping this road and the disturbances out of the regulated area. That first wetland to the east near Route 44, the regulated area just ticks the edge of the stone wall there. So it does come in, but it's really minimal. It's probably a 15-foot section, 15 feet in length, and probably only 4 feet wide. The primary area of the road that goes through a regulated area is where that road turns to the west. And that is Woodbridge soils up there. The soils are borderline. They're not wetland soils, but they're wet soils. And I concur with Mike's design. He is not creating a dam in any way. There will be no restriction of water entering the wetland. The biggest wetland is the last one, which has an area that discharges through that watercourse, and that is a crossing that the commission certainly needs to look at. But do understand that most of the road here is beyond your purview in that it's not in the regulated area. The biggest wetland that discharges through that intermittent stream is exactly as Mike indicated. There is overland flow that enters into it. There's some groundwater discharge and recharge. And in the last week I was out there, there was flow. There's no question about it. It absolutely dries up in the summertime. And I think that wetland will in fact create some retention for anything up to a 10-year storm. It's a good size area, and there's a fair amount of standing water in it currently. So it really, there is an existing driveway that extends up pretty much to the area where the road turns to the west. And one other comment I had is in talking to the gentleman that runs the camp, he seemed very concerned about safety issues. I think Mike hadn't mentioned it, but the current entrance goes right through their maintenance area. It's very busy. They have tractors and bulldozers, and there's a lot of activity in there. And I think that my understanding is that the camp actually feels that it's a safety issue to have the public zipping back and forth through there, which I think is why they contracted to have a new driveway installed. So unless you have other questions, those are really the extent of my comments.
Okay. What would you say the quality of the wetlands are, Rick, up above and below the proposed culvert?
The wetlands below the culvert it's really a water course, and then it widens into a wetland, far further down or to the north. The quality of the wetland that discharges through that crossing is good. It's high quality. It's a ridgeberry forested wetland. I talked about it at length in my report. It does have functions and values as do the others, but there's nothing that is proposed here that's going to adversely impact those wetlands, which I also stated in my report.
Joe, you reviewed the report. How is that your feeling as well?
Yeah, yeah, I concur with the wetland functions and values that Rick has in there. Yep.
Okay. All right. Can we put the screen back the way it was for a second?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. Stop
Trying to
share.
find something on my computer here.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. So when would be a good time for everybody to maybe come out and take a look at the area? Would this week at all? I can do something on Thursday. Would anybody else be able to do something Thursday or?
Thursday's
I work
fine.
until
What time?
2:30.
Yeah,
So if
Okay.
it's after 2:30 sometime, we're great.
all right. Cheryl, how about you?
Yeah, after 2:30 would work for me.
Yeah,
I have another meeting at 5:30, but as long as it's in between that. fine.
okay. Between 2:30 and 5:30?
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, how about you?
I'm looking at my calendar now. I have something until 3 o'clock, and then after that, I'm free. And
So what time could you get there by?
I could probably get there by 3:30.
3:30?
No.
And it
I,
would,
I cannot be there. I'm out of state, so I don't know if you'd want me to help Mike, but I will be out of state until
Yeah.
Tuesday.
okay, well, we certainly would like you to be there if you could, but thank you for telling us. Okay, so Mike, could we say this Thursday at 3:30 and we could meet maybe at that farmhouse there where the proposed road's going in?
Okay. Yeah,
Is that occupied right now or?
I do not believe it is.
So could we
It is
park in there?
possible, but I think it was needed some repair.
Okay,
There is also that driveway. There's two driveways there. It might be best to pull in the one on the right. I'll have to make sure there's no cable across there. I think that there was when I was out there last, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty easy to take down. But
Okay.
I'll certainly coordinate with the Boy Scouts.
okay. All right, we'd appreciate that. So we'll assume that we can park, off of Route 44, maybe in the farmhouse or in that driveway on the right if it's
We
available.
could also go to the ranger station and come in the other way. That's an option too.
Yeah. Well, we'll try this way first, and we all got cell phones. If it doesn't work, you get out, if you can get there anytime before 3:30 and just let us know, that'd be great.
And we
Okay.
need to make sure that the notice of this meeting, the site walk is published.
Yeah.
Please.
We discussed that before.
So, Joe, is there time to post something like that or not?
Let me, because this is technically, if there's more than a quorum of you guys, technically it meets the definition of a meeting, and that has to be posted a minimum of 24 hours ahead of time. So,
Well, today's only Tuesday, so
yeah,
it makes the 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yep.
If we posted it tomorrow, we'd have before
Post it
3:30.
tomorrow. Right, post it tomorrow morning.
Yeah. Okay. Before I forget, I forgot to introduce Valerie Oliver. Valerie is our new minute taker, and we're very appreciative of you volunteering to help us. And I hope I get to meet you at some point. If you have any questions about, anything that has to do with minutes, please give me a call or certainly Joe, and we'll help you all that we can, but we appreciate you being here with us. Okay, so Valerie, maybe as a first thing, you have all of our email addresses and all that? Valerie? Well, that's okay. All right. So I was hoping that we might be able to get a little reminder, Thursday morning, because I know we're all busy. I know I am. But we'll try to get there. Okay. So let's. Anything more on this on this application? So we'll move it to next month. We'll have our site walk on Thursday at 3:30, and we'll take it from there. Okay. So unless anybody has an objection, I'd like to move on to item D, which is the R&M Holdings 21 Lakeside Drive construction of a single-family residence. And I actually got in the mail today a site plan for the project. And so last month, all we said was that we were going to make the materials and plans available. So, Joe, I know you walked us through it a little bit last time, but now that we have a set of plans in front of us, unless there's someone here from R&M Holdings that wants to speak, I think looks like Peterson did it. So, Mark, are you here for that?
Yes, I am. Good evening,
Okay.
Chairman and Commissioners. Mark Peterson with Gardner and Peterson Associates. So we prepared a plan based on a field survey. The left half of the plan is the existing conditions, boundary survey with topography, location of the existing home. The applicant retained a septic company to dig up the existing tank, if you can call it that. It's found out there's the original tank from probably 60 years old, right in the front of the existing home. Associated deck to the side and a few significant trees that we located. So on this map, north is straight up. Topography drains from Lakeside Drive to the top of the page to the north to Ashford Lake, which we abut. The right half of the plan is our proposed layout. The house will be torn down. We will be proposing a new 2-bedroom home. There's a 2-bedroom existing home on the property. New septic system, which has been reviewed and approved by Eastern Highlands Health District. And a sedimentation and erosion control measures on plan view and detail, including tracking pad, stockpile areas, row of silt fence, which is also backed by hay bales down gradient or site disturbance.
So it's right up against Ashford Lake, and it looks like basically taking down the old house and putting up a new one, generally in the same spot. The footprint looks maybe a little bit different or a little larger, but essentially not totally different. And it looks like you're planning on putting some soil and erosion control measures all the way close to the lake itself. And you're going to be taking out the old foundation and the old septic system and tanks, I guess. And then there's a new patio, which was not there before. So, I mean, unless I'm missing something, I know we're in the upland review area. It's relatively flat there. Control measures are proposed. Does anybody have any questions about this, or do they want a chance to look at it? Or well, we'll take Rick. How about you? Do you want to? Do you have any questions on this one?
I do not.
Okay. Peter, how about you?
Yeah, I have one question. Is this considered a year-round residence or just the summer?
It would be a year-round residence.
It will, all right.
Gary, how do you what do you feel about this? Did you get a site? Did you get your plans in the mail?
I did. I got it.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Basically, do you have any idea? Give me some sort of an idea of how long this project will take to take it down and build it up.
Robert Campbell here. I'm the owner of the property, member of R&M Holdings. We're hoping to have this project done once we get all the permitting secured, within 8 to 10 months complete.
Okay.
We don't want to really dally on it. We want to get through it.
Are you going to build over the winter?
Actually, we're hoping to get it done through the summer and be finishing so we can actually have seeding done before the fall.
Okay.
So,
Cheryl, how about you?
Yeah, I actually did not receive any plans. However, I can discern what was going on from the PDFs that we received before. So I really don't have any concerns. And I don't feel that this activity will impact the watercourse.
Okay. All right. Hopefully, let me know if you don't get it tomorrow or something like that. I don't know why. I just got mine today. So,
So did I.
okay. Joe, do you have any concerns about this one?
No, I don't.
Okay. So we accepted the application last time around, and now we have a full set of engineered plans, and we've kind of tossed it around. Doesn't seem like there's that much concern about this one. How do you guys feel about it? We've got plenty of time. Nobody seems to be interested in going out and looking at it.
I move we approve this application.
Okay.
I'll
I'll
second
second
it.
it.
Who seconded it?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion to approve it. We have a second. Do we have any comments or questions at this point? Or,
Good luck.
okay. All right. So why don't we, so all those in favor of approving the application as it stands?
Aye.
Okay. So the ayes have it. You're approved. Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
very much.
A nice plan. Appreciate how well you did it. It was very nice.
Yes.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Have a good evening.
Two. All right. So let's move on to item number 5, which is the agent's report. Joe, you have any questions or anything to report?
Yeah, the only thing I have to report is just wanted to make you guys aware, and Lenny, you're aware of it, but we've received further complaints about the gravel operation that's being conducted by Steve Krukoff on the Boy Scout camp by the adjacent neighbor. He formally complained this time to the first selectman. So last Tuesday, the first selectman and I met with Steve couldn't be there. Steve Krukoff couldn't be there, so his brother was there. But we actually met with him on site just to bring her up to speed on what the project was, what was permitted, and the extent of what was going on there currently. And basically the long and short of it was that there are no wetland violations there. There's no fill being deposited in wetlands. I've ascertained that the project is working well within the scope of the permit that was issued. And I guess that's basically where we're at. The site, the site's basically good and clean. The E&S measures are up. No runoff going into wetlands in any way, shape, or form. And that's about it, unless anybody has any questions regarding this.
So the application or the permit is still in full force and effect at this point, and
Yep.
okay. So Valerie, I would like to make some notes, what Joe talked about. I'm assuming you're recording this, or you can get a copy of the recording. So I want to just kind of make sure that Joe's comments were summarized, pretty thoroughly on this one, since it was, a formal complaint, and I believe that we've dealt with it fairly. Anybody else have any questions or comments about that?
Do we have any idea how much longer it's going to continue? Excuse me.
Yeah, I can address that. So basically, this is a continuing operation. What's going on there now is Mr. Krukoff has mined out. I'm going to say the majority of the gravel that was applied. The area that was applied for.
Right.
But he continues to use that area. He has an agreement with the Boy Scout camp. He stockpiles materials there, and that was one of the the big claims the neighbor was saying is that the construction debris that's being hauled in there, various pavement millings or broken up pavement, concrete and things like that. That was the claim the complainant was making, was that these things were being buried and they were being put in wetlands and et cetera. And of course, that's not the case. But this is a continuing operation. So even if Mr. Krukoff reaches the point where he's mined out all of the gravel, I believe for years he's going to continue to use that site to stockpile, crush, and process these materials, which he uses, for the road building and construction projects that he does.
But that's all in agreement with the Scout Camp.
It is, yeah. And to my knowledge, I know the zoning enforcement officers reviewed this as well, and again, they're not in violation of any regulations there either.
Good.
Yep. I guess the overall plan is at some point they're gonna put some sort of a lake or a pond or something in there. Is that the ultimate plan?
Well, a couple things were discussed. If you guys remember back when the application was in front of us, they talked about the possibility of constructing a pond there. Other thoughts were possibly like a big outdoor amphitheater where they could hold events. But there's nothing on paper at this point. And I think it was, if I remember correctly, at the meeting, they just kind of said we're just permitting a gravel operation at this point, and in the future, whatever gets proposed is going to come in front of you anyway, whether it's a pond or a baseball field or whatever they end up putting in there. So,
okay. Yes, Catherine.
Yes. I also had a conversation with the, I believe the ranger for the park, who contacted me. What I would like to do is I would like to do the complainant the courtesy of meeting with him. I've already discussed it with him. He'd like his wife there. And I would like to have someone go with me to do that. I'm going to do it in person. Preferably it would be Joe. Joe, I'll talk to you offline about that. But just to do the final follow-up on it.
Okay. Joe,
it's a good courtesy.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Joe, you can make arrangements with our first selectman, please.
Yes.
Sure, no problem.
And I very much appreciate Joe arranging all of this for me.
Yeah.
It was very helpful, and as he said, things look fine.
And thank you for going out yourself too. Appreciate that as well. Okay. Anything else, Joe, for your agent's report?
Nope.
Okay. Item 6 is the members' comments. I just want to remind you that there is a Connecticut Association of Wetland Scientists Thursday morning, this Thursday coming up, 9 o'clock to noon, a little virtual wetland science conference. If anybody's interested, you can register online. I think we did email everybody a copy of it. It's $5. It's not a lot. I've been to some of these years ago, and they're pretty good, but a lot of us already went to that last one, so don't want to tire you guys out, but just let you know that it is available if you want to do it. Okay. Any other members' comments?
Yeah. I just want to thank the selectmen for putting me into the commission as a permanent member. I really appreciate that.
And I'd like to make a note too that we're very happy for Cheryl to agreeing to be a full-time member and welcome her onto the commission, and many, many years.
If I could also add something, I will tell you that all 3 selectmen were very, very positive about you stepping into this role. They appreciate your experience and expertise.
Thank you.
All right. So with that, item 7 is adjourned. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second it.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank
Bye-bye
you.
now.